This is an infrared sensor clip that was uploaded to a classified network in September 2020 and labeled September 5th, 2020 callsign UAP. The file is part of a collection that Arrow identified after a March 2026 request from 8 members of the United States House of Representatives seeking access to 51 potentially UAP-related records. Arrow assessed that the imagery is likely derived from an infrared sensor aboard a United States military platform operating in the Central Command Area of Responsibility in 2020, and notes that many of the associated materials do not have a substantiated chain of custody. The recording runs for just under 5 minutes, and for most of that time, no discernible activity appears in the frame. Intermittently, brief areas of contrast move through the sensor view, each one entering from the lower edge of the image and tracking upward before leaving the scene. There are 3 such transits separated by long intervals of no content. The clip contains no additional overlays, no visible targeting symbology, and no audio narrative. Because the footage is infrared, objects appear as areas of contrast rather than as clear visual shapes, and that makes identification from this clip alone difficult. The uploader defined the title and placed the file on a classified network in September 2020, which is why Arrow identifies the item as likely associated with operations in that region and time frame. The Department of War and the intelligence community were listed in the records that prompted the congressional inquiry, and Arrow flagged the material as responsive, but noted gaps in documentation tying the files back to specific sensor logs or platform records. For analysts, that lack of chain of custody means the video could be useful as a data point, but cannot by itself establish provenance or definitive context. Viewed as a single clip, the imagery shows only brief upward transits of high contrast against a largely blank field. There is no clear evidence in this file of maneuvering that would allow classification beyond an anomalous contact on an infrared sensor. That limited content is also why Arrow included this item in a broader set of materials under review rather than treating it as a standalone, fully documented incident. The larger significance is procedural as much as observational. This footage is one piece in a batch of records identified after a legislative request, and it illustrates how sensor captures, network uploads, and record keeping can diverge in operational environments. The files were made public on May 22nd, 2026 as part of that review, giving researchers and the public the chance to examine what was collected even where metadata and custody trails are incomplete. If you're studying sensor imagery or the process by which military records reach over site channels, this clip is an example of a short infrared capture whose meaning depends on corroborating data that is not present inside the file. For the full case file, related footage, sighting reports, and our weekly UAP News podcast, visit uapdrop.com.